So let's talk about one of the biggest mysteries out there. Where in the universe did all of Earth's water actually come from? Now, for decades, we were pretty sure we had the answer. But it turns out some evidence that's been sitting in a box for 50 years has just cracked this cosmic cold case wide open. And what they're finding is shaking up, well, pretty much everything we thought we knew.
And this quote right here is really the heart of the story. Taking a fresh look at old evidence, we're talking samples from the Apollo missions, is completely challenging one of the most basic ideas we had about our own planet's history. And it all kicks off with a little bit of dust from the moon. The key piece of evidence here is something called lunar regolith. It's basically the moon's soil, a fine layer of dust and tiny rock fragments. And it's inside this ancient, undisturbed dust that scientists are finding clues that could literally rewrite the story of Earth. Okay, so why is MoonDust such a big deal? Well, think about it. If you want to solve a mystery that's 4 billion years old, you need a witness that hasn't changed its story. And that, right there, is the moon. Here on Earth, everything is constantly changing. We've got tectonic plates shifting around, erosion. Our planet is basically wiping its own historical slate clean all the time. But the moon? It's geologically quiet. It's airless. It's pretty much the perfect time capsule, holding on to a pristine record of all the cosmic chaos that shaped both it and the Earth all those eons ago. And the evidence itself? It comes from the legendary Apollo missions. These samples were carefully collected, sealed away, and basically forgotten about for half a century. And this is the crucial part. The scientists back then just didn't have the tools we have now. That 50-year wait meant we could look at these exact same rocks with incredible new technology, seeing details they never, ever could have dreamed of. All right, so for decades, we had a prime suspect in the case of Earth's missing water, meteors. The long-held theory was that they were our planet's personal water delivery service. But this new evidence from the MoonDust, well, it's poking some pretty big holes in that story. So this was the idea, right? During a crazy period called the Late Heavy Bombardment, the early solar system was basically a cosmic shooting gallery. The theory was that countless icy meteors and asteroids just slammed into our young, fiery planet, bringing all the water that would one day become our oceans. It made perfect sense, until it didn't. And this is where that technological leap I mentioned comes in. Scientists used this brand new technique with high-precision isotopes to really dig into the molecular makeup of the lunar dust. You could almost think of it like a super high-tech DNA test for rocks. It lets them see the chemical fingerprints left behind by ancient impacts with unbelievable detail. And here's the aha moment. Water is H2O, right? Hydrogen and oxygen. So the thinking was, if these icy meteors were the main source, then the moon rocks, which got pummeled by the same stuff, should be absolutely loaded with hydrogen. But when they looked, nope. They found some short, but not nearly enough. This mismatch is the smoking gun. It pretty much proves that meteors could not have been the main source of our oceans. I mean, this just changes everything. If your prime suspect suddenly has an airtight alibi, you've got to go back to the drawing board. So if it wasn't meteors bringing all that water, then what was? So let's get into the next phase of this investigation. With the old theory in trouble, scientists had to line up some other cosmic suspects and see if their stories checked out.
Suspect number one, comets. Now, on the surface, they seem like a perfect fit. They're basically giant, dirty snowballs, just packed with ice. But when you look closer, the case kind of falls apart. The water in comets has a different chemical signature. It has way too much of this heavy hydrogen called deuterium. That chemical fingerprint just doesn't match the water we have here in our oceans. So what's the verdict on comets? Well, they probably chipped in, but it was a minor role at best. The current thinking is that they delivered less than 10% of Earth's water. So yeah, they weren't our main supplier. The search had to continue. Okay, next up, planetesimals. These are the primitive, icy building blocks of planets. The idea here is that maybe these smaller bodies peppered the early Earth, slowly but surely delivering all the water. It's a solid theory, but again, there are some nagging inconsistencies. When scientists checked the fingerprints, this time looking at noble gases like neon and argon, the ratios didn't quite line up with what we find in Earth's mantle and atmosphere. It suggests the story is a lot more complicated. So it's looking like this isn't a simple case with a single bad guy. The evidence isn't pointing to just one suspect, but to some kind of collaboration. The final verdict is way more complex and, honestly, way more fascinating than we ever thought. And here's the beautiful, messy truth. It was likely all of the above. Water arrived from a whole bunch of sources: meteors, comets, and planetesimals. But because the early Earth was just this molten ball of rock, that water couldn't pool into oceans, not yet. Instead, it formed a thick, steamy atmosphere of water vapor. Then, as our planet slowly cooled over millions of years, all that vapor condensed, and it started to rain. And it rained and it rained for eons until it finally filled the basins that became our oceans.
And that is the real takeaway here. The story of our planet's water wasn't a single event. It's the result of a grand cosmic conspiracy, a complex collaboration between all these different celestial bodies and the patient, gradual cooling of our own world. It is just incredible to think that rocks that sat in a lab for 50 years could make us rethink something so fundamental about our home. And it just makes you wonder, what other secrets about Earth's own past are just sitting up there on the moon, waiting for us to finally ask the right questions?